welcome to the RTE Olympics podcast. A glorious night for Ireland. Up to 12th in the Olympics table, which is Olympic medal table, which is pretty impressive. Raf was in Roland Garros. Anyone for tennis? Not this evening, Raf. You were there to watch a couple of very significant fights, but maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Khalif fight that preceded Kellie Harrington. But you were there to witness history.
I was back-to-back gold medals for Kellie Harrington, the first Irish female Olympian to do so, and also joining Paul Donovan and Fintan McCarthy, and also doing so and being the first since 1928 and 1932 when Pat O'Callaghan did it in the men's hammer throw. So it was just, it was a superb atmosphere all the way to the build-up, even coming in the metro all the way out to Roland Garros, which isn't that close to Paris centre. It's out in the southwest, and all you could hear was Irish accents in the train. Obviously, a lot of other nationalities, particularly Algerians and a few Mexicans as well. But just the atmosphere was unbelievable, and it just kind of felt like home in a way. For a moment, if I would have closed my eyes, I would have thought I was on the Dart, maybe on the way to Lansdowne Road or something. But it just, when you then land into the Roland Garros, or like the campus of it, then it's just tricolours everywhere, and then it carries on into the stadium as well, and then into the fight. Obviously, it was the last one billed. It was the only gold medal bout. There were a number of bronze medal fights all the way before that, and then Kelly and Wenlu Yang came out to what was a raucous atmosphere. Slightly, there would have been more fans in before for the Khalif fight, particularly Algerians who would have a strong connection to France as well. But there was still a huge amount of Irish in the stadium, and afterwards you get the ole ole oles, you get the general thing that kind of follows Irish sports fans around. Once it became clear that Kelly was on top, especially after she won that first round 4-1. And then when she won the second round 4-1, essentially, even I would have, I didn't want to jinx it, but I had started writing my copy and started filing it. It was just the last paragraph to throw in.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was. It's nice when it's like that because it's so rare. Usually we have. Well, actually, I said before these Olympics, you normally have nail-biting moments, but you look at Paul O'Donovan and Fintan McCarthy, even Reese, which was nerve-wracking to watch, but he was the fourth to go and he hit such a score. You're like, he's probably not going to get beaten. We can almost start celebrating this. And then Kelly, who for the third fight in a row, kind of had it fairly well wrapped up by the time the third round started. Now you can never guarantee it, but way the scorecards were, she didn't quite enjoy herself the same way she did in the quarter and semi-final. She was a little bit more restrained, I guess. She just wanted to make sure nothing went wrong, but she didn't run away. She didn't like start retreating around the ring. She still boxed. She still fought. But you're right. It was nice. I think the Irish fans there could probably really enjoy that last 3 minutes.
Yeah, particularly, yeah. And then once the the medal ceremony started, and there was a bit of a lull obviously in between because they have to kind of move things around. I think I might have mentioned the word feng shui. You're trying to move things around where it used to be a clay court, but now is just kind of grey tarpaulin and a ring on top of it. So they had to move things around, get the podium set up in the ring, and then when in between that, there's the likes of Zombie and stuff banging out. Like that's what you come to expect these days. And then of course Kellie Harrington comes out to an unbelievable atmosphere given what she's just achieved twice in a row, of course, as well. And yeah, it's kind of an emotional thing then when Our on Navian comes on, and I don't have a great singing voice, but I always you always give it a lash. And then I don't know how many times now, it's obviously, I think, how many goals have I seen live? Three, I think. And I've seen the tricolour being lifted in the middle above above every other flag, and you know it's a privilege to actually see that because I suppose people from an older era would remember games where we would come back with nothing, and
Mm.
here we're coming back with 7 medals, a record, and 4 goals, which has never been done before. So it's unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, you wait 92 years for her back-to-back Olympic champion and two come along in the same week. Kelly, you may have missed this, Raf, because obviously you were in the arena. She spoke briefly to Joe Stack before going to collect her medal, and she says she's retired. She says she's done now. She kind of
Yeah.
hinted at it before, but then kind of maybe contradicted herself or rode back a bit in one of the earlier rounds, saying she wasn't sure, but she says she's done now. She wants to go out on a high. And I don't think anybody would begrudge her that.
No, no, and especially look, she's 34 now, 2 games under her belt, become a world champion before that as well. What else is there to achieve? Apart from, I suppose, getting on with the rest of your life at this stage, and sort of, I suppose, lapping up the adulation, which is going to be part of what she's going to receive now for the remainder of her life. And she's in a very privileged position. Not a lot of us get to experience something like that.
Yeah, and the reaction obviously from the crowd we could kind of get, but Zaurantia, who's obviously the doyen of Irish boxing, kind of took over that role from Billy Walsh. Obviously, he was there tonight as well in his role as the Team USA boxing director. But Zaurantia, like joy, relief, the Irish corner. I'd say the whole Irish team because it hasn't been a great boxing tournament
No,
for the Irish.
no, and I've been to a lot of those fights in the arena Paris Nord, and I remember speaking to Dean Clancy about a month ago. He was the first Irish fighter into the ring at this entire games, and he had said at the time his dream was to go and fight in Roland Garros. And then what's happened is we've only had Kellie Harrington fighting here. Everyone else was eliminated quite early on, 8 of them at the first go, and then Jack Marley, of course, got to a quarterfinal. So we're in a situation where this the boxing team were usually the strength and the backbone of an
Mm.
of Team Ireland at Olympics, and it hasn't quite happened that way. So Kellie Harrington is something of a saving grace for Ireland in that sense, and that's what has been relied on. At least there's that moment of adulation, and a lot of them were here. I think Dean Clancy was speaking to Jackie Hurley before going into the arena, and a lot of the Irish fighters have been, where I've been sat for most of the fights in the arena Paris Nord has actually been in beside the Team Ireland fighters. So the amount of support that they've given to whoever is still remaining has been huge.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, Raf, I'm not going to keep you. I'm going to let you go. It's 20 past midnight there. You might go and join the party because I'd say it'll be going on for quite some time.
Yeah, the conga line on the metro will be quite something, I can imagine.
I'm going to leave the last word to Kellie Harrington, and after that, I'll be speaking to David Gillick. I was speaking to him earlier about the athletics, and in fairness to him, after giving him a bit of stick for not getting Mondo Duplantis after his world record, he really stepped up his game today. If you haven't seen it, get on the RT Sports social accounts. You'll see he got Cole Hocker, the 1500-meter winner. He got Inga Britson. He got Gabby Thomas. He stopped all the stars today. So I do give him a bit of stick now in a minute. But just to say, David backed it up. Raf, go join the conga line. Talk to you
I
tomorrow.
will. See you.
Team of high performance coaches, and then we have Noel over here, who is also my coach and one of my best friends. And I didn't think he was going to be here today, and it's just the best surprise.
You did it, champ. What does it mean?
It just gives hope. See all these young kids, all these teenagers, it gives hope to them. It gives hope to the people of Ireland. That's what it means. But this one was for me.
You were in total control again, Kellie. What was the plan?
Happy, just to be happy. Just to smile, be happy, enjoy it. It's the last hurrah. I'm done. I've always said I want to retire a champion. That's it.
And you've retired a two-time champion.
Let me just say it once again. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. Good night, Irene.
Kellie, go and collect a gold medal.
Thank you.
David joins me from Paris now to look back on the last couple of days of athletics for Ireland, which have had one notable bright spot in Rhasidat Adeleke, one very notable low point in Ciara Mageean, who didn't even get to the stadium, unfortunately. And then, David, I suppose you could say, just starting with this morning, the 1500-meter heats and the 400-meter repechage, nobody disgraced themselves. There was a PB for Sophie O'Sullivan, a second best time of all time for Sophie Becker. Just the standard is the standard, and the girls would have to run out of their skin today, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's I suppose like when you look at say the 1500s, the heats, like Sophie ran unbelievably well. Sophie O'Sullivan, huge PB, but you're looking off where she was this season running a 4:05, and she ran a 4 flat today. Like that's 5 seconds, and it just proves that Sophie is an athlete that absolutely loves championships. She did it last year in Budapest, and qualified nicely into the final last year, if I'm not mistaken. And then it was a case of this, like when you look at it and you kind of go, right, if there was no repechage, she probably would have got through to a semi-final, be the fastest loser. Which again, you kind of go, right, now the repechage, and she's so unlucky to go run so well and then have to come back tomorrow. And I think that's probably the most upsetting side of it for her. I spoke to her afterwards, and you can kind of see the realization of like, oh, I was so close to literally getting a day off and getting into the semi-finals. And I've also ran a PB. So that's the kind of the bittersweet, and that kind of word bittersweet is something that I've been kind of hearing a lot from the athletes. Sophie Becker is another one who ran well today, but I think just the level over the 400 meters, it's global level, it's Olympic Games, and likewise with Charlene as well, like a decent run today, absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. But what would have wanted probably something around a PB to get through, and that's just the level that they're at. So again, nobody disgraced themselves at all. Like my heart did go out to Sarah Healy, who did absolutely everything right. Perfect race. Goes into the last lap, well in the top 6, back straight. Suddenly a gap appears, and it just kind of fell apart from there for her. And particularly in the last 50 meters. You're in top 6 and then the legs just go, and that's the thing about the pressure, you suddenly realize, oh, I'm almost at the line, and you tighten up, your hips go low, your stride length shortens, and then it's literally swimming in honey, and she was lucky to make the line. So again, she's probably the one now that kind of really has to pick herself up both physically and mentally to come back for tomorrow's repechage in the 1500 meters.
Yeah, I was speaking to Tom Barr about the repechage yesterday, and he's not a fan. He thinks that it's very difficult. Like it favors those who do best, obviously, in the first round because and I was saying yes, it seems particularly difficult for like the 400 meters where like it's a serious strain. That's a stupid thing for me to say. There's a serious strain doing any of these events, and like Sophie O'Sullivan is her mother's daughter. You could see she was wearing the pain of what she'd done on her face as she crossed the line. Really dived across the line or fell across the line trying to get there. The idea of coming back tomorrow and then knowing that if you're successful, you have to race again the next day is brutal, and it's very difficult to see. I'd be amazed. I don't know how you feel if anyone from a repechage makes the final in any event this week.
And you're right. I think when we looked at the men's 1500s, I don't think anyone from the repechage made it through to the.
I think 8th was the best any of them managed.
Yeah, exactly. And there was big names in there. There was the Australian. His name just gone out of my head. Like he's one of the fastest, and again, he didn't make it. So I think when you look at it, and particularly take the men's 400 meters, for an example, that repechage, like there's so many DNS, so did not start. Like there was lanes empty because people were like, well, hang on, I have to come back and maybe do a 4x4 at the end of the week. So I'm going to sack that off and focus on that. I'm not going to get through. There's no point. And those are the things, like the events are hard. The 400, you can't take any round easy unless you're like world number 1, 2, or 3, you have to go all in. And that's what we're seeing. It's just a lot for the athletes. So I think overall, the gist that I'm kind of getting from people, athletes, and even spectators love it because it's another race and it's a competitive race. And the athletes who are running in repechage, it's only the winner go through and take some of the sprint. So you have to go full tilt. So spectators love it. Like even the French guy today in the 200 meters won his repechage and he almost did a lap of honor, and the fans are going crazy. They love it. But from an athlete's perspective, there's an awful lot of work that has to go back into an extra round of your event. And that's not really ideal. So I don't know what will come of repechages in the future. I think what has happened here in Paris is that the timetable, the way they've made the timetable, there was more time. And basically they went to World Athletics and said, look, we can give you all this time. What do you want to do with it? And they just went with it. It's more races. It fills up the program as well. So again, if you're a spectator buying tickets, there's more races. And I think that's essentially it. So it's a tough one. And probably, it'll be up for debate post games.
So looking ahead then to tomorrow and the semi-finals for the 400 meters, by all accounts, Rhasidat Adeleke has got a pretty good draw. She's in lane 8 of the first semi-final. She's in with Lika Klaver and Sawa Nasir, but she's dodged Paulino and she's dodged Price, who I think is the fastest woman this year. So would you see that as a good draw for Rhasidat?
Yeah, I would. I'm just looking at it here on the phone myself. It is a good draw. Like I think again, there is seeding in this as well, so they would try and keep some of the big guns away from each other until the final. So it is good. I think. Look, the reality is, it's a semi-final at a Olympic Games. So like Rhasidat will be going into this thinking she won't be thinking about semi-final. It's a race. It's a tough race. She needs to execute and go through a race plan. And then last 50 meters, you see where you're at. And if you're way ahead, then you come off the gas. Pretty much to what she did in the heat. I thought she looked extremely good. Very, very calm, very relaxed. She seemed to be enjoying the occasion. And which to me is probably the biggest aspect of this because there's so much pressure on her. Off the back of Rome, going kind of running well in the Diamond Leagues, there is pressure there. And you're talking about someone who probably, yes, she's young, but she's gone through a lot of this in the NCAAs and that kind of like real intense setup over there. So to me, even speaking to her after the heat, it was almost like the shackles were off. She's opened up her Olympic Games. It's gone really well. She felt great. And it's just bringing that momentum into the semi-final. There is some names there like Lika Klaver, Nasir, who's a former world champ. Now there is obviously she had issues over whereabouts.
She hasn't run quite so well since coming back from her 2-year ban.
Well, there you go. You said it. So there's probably a little bit you can kind of go, right, is there pedigree there, or can she be one of these athletes that might just spring a surprise? I don't think so. I think you're looking at Rhasidat coming through that comfortably. I think Klaver, again, we all know is a very, very good athlete. I don't think she'll be in the shake-up come final time for the medals. But again, look, it's a semi-final. You just got to negotiate it. And I think for Rhasidat as well, she'd be looking to kind of put down a bit of a marker, get a good lane in the final, and kind of put it up to the people. But again, it's setting the race up. It's running to 300, running to 350, seeing where you're at, and then if you can afford to, you come off the gas and just kind of try and start your recovery at maybe 380 meters as opposed to 400 meters.
Well, that'd be great because, coming into this championship, people are saying that we have to just temper our expectations here a little bit. Like making a final for Rhasidat would be an achievement in itself. But I think the heats yesterday, maybe have made people that little bit more confident that she, and maybe this draw now today as well, that she should be making the final. That's not a given, but that's the bare minimum at this stage is the aim. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, again, been over here and you kind of, I suppose the way the week is unfolding, and even the success of Team Ireland last week, we're kind of now, it's all medals. Sure, it's great, isn't it? And everyone's like, sure, she's going to get a medal. And the thing about it is, it's tough. It's really hard. And we have to kind of keep things in check. I think, yes, the first thing is get into that final. And I think Rhasidat is absolutely good enough to get in the podium. I think, even looking at yesterday, yeah, she's going to be in the mix. I don't, to be honest, I don't care what colour it is once she gets on the podium. That's my view. I'd love her to get on the podium. That transition from underage kind of, NCAAs, making the decision to go pro, she's young, get her on the podium and let's all be happy. Now, there's still a lot of work to do. There's a lot of talent in this, Price as well is someone who probably people are kind of written off a little bit, or even kind of was a little bit on the unknown, the NCAA champion, but she came out in London recently and just ran like a 48 mid. It's incredible. And again, she's definitely one to watch out for. Polino as well, a lot of pedigree there, like immense pedigree. So we can't just look at the stats on paper. You got to look at kind of, okay, the pedigree of these athletes. So for me, it's just a case of let's take one race at a time, get her into the final, and then hopefully she can do what she needs to do. I think one thing she did kind of mention was I'm working with my coach to try and get out fast over the first 200. I thought she did that really well yesterday and looked very comfortable doing so. I think it was a faster 200 than she did in Rome, in the final in Rome, the Europeans. And probably, the athlete that caught her on that day, Kazmarek, again, is going to be in the mix, the Polish athlete. She's very good. So there's different attributes. Kazmarek is very strong. It's incredibly strong in the last 100 meters of a 4, which is great. So yeah, let's just keep things in check. I think the main thing is get into that final and hopefully all will go our way.
Yeah. Speaking of checks, we got a nasty reality check on, I suppose, what you and lots of people know about the really tough side of athletics and professional sport in general, with Ciara McGeehan unfortunately having to withdraw from this morning's 1500 meter heats with an Achilles problem. And even I know Achilles problems are one of the hardest things to fix, to clear up. She obviously tried very hard and left it as late as possible. It's just a killer for her, really, isn't it? 32 years of age, seeing probably her last chance in the Olympics going due to injury.
It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. On the eve of her third Olympics, obviously her progression over the last couple of years, even into this year with the Europeans, let's be honest, we were all kind of looking at what can Ciara do. Ciara was up there with Rhasidat, obviously last year at the Worlds, incredible championship for Kira. And yeah, like it's hard to know. It's really hard to know. Okay, she in the press release that word chronic was there. So how long has this been going on? As
She
you
hasn't
mentioned,
hit the heights of the Europeans since
no.
during the summer season, has she?
No, and even the Europeans, like, time wise, it wasn't special. It was a
Hmm.
championship, and
I'm
you
just
know,
looking. I wouldn't have got her out of two of the heats today.
no, no, I
Yeah.
wouldn't. And like, and then that kind of, yeah, like it's hard to know where her form was. Like she did in May open up with a PB over 800 meters, so there was good speed there. It looked as if she was in great shape. And look, I suppose you can start kind of maybe connecting the dots. Like nationals, was there a niggle there? Hence why she didn't compete. She then went to Paris in the Diamond League and she ran very well. And then went to Monaco and it didn't go well. So maybe that was the start of it. Now I watched the Monaco Diamond League. That was over 2K. And she did give an interview after that on the track. She never alluded to any kind of physical issue. She was disappointed with her run, but didn't mention anything about an injury. So, look, these are the things you do as an athlete. You don't start telling everyone. You keep it in house and you try your very, very best. And you hope and you're optimistic, right? This will go away. But by knowing Kira, like she will have tried absolutely everything. And she's a battler and she's gutsy. And, the same time, she's not going to put herself in the start line if she's not able to really give it 100%. And there's no point, and I think it's heartbreaking for her, really, really is. And it's not the news that we wanted to hear, particularly, athletics. Okay, we can look at it and go a bit of a mixed bag this week, perhaps. And we were looking at the likes of Rhasidat and looking at Kira to do their kind of magic. So it's really, really hard for an athlete. And my heart goes out to her now because you're trying to pick yourself up and you're probably in the village and everything's happening around you and you're just like, this is the last place I want to be.
Yeah, no, I think I can imagine she's probably wanting to stop the world and get off. As Declan Nerney would have said. Listen, you've been in the Stade de France now for a few days. The atmosphere looks absolutely incredible. And fair play to you, Noah Lyles, Valerie Allman, Keely Hodgkinson. You've been getting the big names, but where's Mondo? Did you not manage to get him?
I got to be honest, right? Look, it's a privilege. It's an absolute privilege being in the stadium and in the mix zone. And I'm like a pest. Anyone that passes me, the microphone's going out, and they either have to do the limbo to get under it, or they're talking to me. But
Mondo will go over you, I guess.
Mondo, yeah, exactly. He'll get his pole out and off he goes. But it's my kind of view is because we're covering it and it's going out on Irish TV, so let's try and hear from the athletes that we're watching. And Mondo, like typical Mondo style, like the final of the 800 meters was at 20-10. Mondo hadn't even jumped his final jump. So then the stadium becomes his. He owns the place. There's whatever 70 odd thousand, and they're all looking at Mondo. And the French fans, they know their pole vault because Le Villani was a French athlete who was around for years. He won everything. So they know the pole vault. And then Mondo comes along, the whole place is shouting Mondo. He has them all eating it out of his palm, of his hand, and off he goes, world record. Incredible. So I was there with the cameraman last night, Magnus, and we were like, yeah, we'll hang around and we'll get Mondo. And sure, he was doing laps of honor. He was in the crowd. He was hugging everyone and kissing babies, and we literally had to make a call and say, right, we can't get him, but hopefully might get him tonight now because he gets his medal ceremony, and we might be able to nab him in the mix zone. But the atmosphere, I have to say, has been amazing. Every session is sold out, and they have a DJ literally in the stadium, okay, and he's on the decks, and in between races, he's banging out tunes, and the place becomes like it's like a concert. And I think if anyone has ever been to a concert in the Stade de France, the way they've built it, the acoustics are absolutely fantastic. And last night it was bouncing. It was literally the best atmosphere that I've experienced here so far. And long may it continue because the French crowd, there's an awful lot of Irish. It's just one of these moments where you're going, I'm so lucky to be here. It's fantastic. And tonight again, like the men's 1500 meters is going to be epic. Josh Kerr, Inga Britson. Like there's so much going on. There really is, but the atmosphere, I think throughout Paris so far, like all the stadiums have been full, knowledgeable crowd. And it's just kind of really, really showcasing what the Olympics is all about, I think.
Yeah. That last night was just pure theater. So not a historical fact today for the podcast. It's more It's to do with Mondo Duplantis. For those of you who don't know, he's the greatest pole vaulter of all time. And a lot of people my age and older would have remembered Sergei Bubka, and just like you were enthralled by him because the pole vault is just not something that you do. It's just Mondo's good at it because his man was a pole vaulter and he's been doing it since he was 4 in his back garden. But people mightn't know, last night was the first time that the world record for the pole vault's ever been broken at the Olympics. But it's the 9th time that Mondo's broken it, and he keeps breaking it by a centimeter. There's a very good reason for that. David will know, but a lot of people might not know. Every time he breaks a world record, he gets $100,000. So he's broken it 9 times now. So for those of you who aren't as good at maths, that's $900,000 he's earned. So he's just another centimeter off it now, maybe by the end of the season. Do you think, David?
Yeah, well, look, we were laughing about that last night because he jumped his 625 and he didn't go for 626. So he's like, nah, I'm going to cash in here. And then post Olympics, he'll be in a Diamond League somewhere. He's probably raising it. He can't go up just like even half a centimeter.
Yeah. But fair play to him. I won't say it's an easy way to make a living because I can't even imagine what I'd look like if I tried to pole
But
vault.
in fairness, like they were out. I think the pole vault started at I don't know. The pole vault started at something like, was it 7 or half 6 or something? They were on the track, and it didn't finish till near, like, he probably would have got off the track through the mix zone, everything. I'd say half 11. You know,
Yeah. Like he
it's
didn't
an
jump for the first hour or so of it, did he?
no,
Yeah.
no. Like, that's the thing. He's a spectator. He's watching all the people. Like, he's probably laughing, going, like, look at these lads going over 5 meters 80. Like, come on. But it was
Wasting my
brilliant.
time.
And
Yeah.
it defies logic as well. Like, as I do with my own kids, like I get the measure and tape out, and I kind of measure out how high it is, or how long a long jump is, or a high jump. And when you do it like that and you actually look and go, oh my God, someone's jumping over. Like, I don't know, what's 6 meters 25?
It's a bus anyway, isn't it? It's a double-decker bus. Like it's at least it's insane. Like yeah, and as you said, I think you would have to be there to kind of really get a real feel for what it is. But look, you've got plenty of good stuff to come, David, and I think we're all hoping that Friday night builds to a crescendo for Ireland with Rhasidat. So fingers crossed on that tomorrow. You can follow her semi-final, watch it indeed on RT2 and the RT Player, and follow it on the RT Sport website and the RT News app, and then RT Radio 1, I'm sure will be carrying that as well. So David, thanks very much and enjoy the rest of the week, and everybody else, I'll chat to you tomorrow. Good luck. Goodbye.